Sarah's smile. Woo! Won't you smile a while for me, Sarah? When you feel cold, I'll warm you. What? And when I feel I can't go on, I'll come and hold you. You, me, forever. Sarah. Woo! Shit. Oh, good Lord. Who am I serenading? Absolutely nobody. Fucking A. God damn it. Everything seems kind of loud. It's Thursday night. Do I feel right? I hope so. Good Lord, we got to preview what the fuck had done happen. Where are my swords? I have my swords. Where are the firearms? There are none here, just in case the feds are watching. But, whatever the case may be, it's time. Oh, good Lord. People are in the building. Oh, good thing I did not incriminate myself. Big Fat Paulie, K-Doe, son of a bitch. How the hell am I supposed to go down the list? I ain't even put on the doggone siren. Shit, we gonna keep the siren to go down the list and say hello to the people. Sound the alarm. Big Fat Paulie, K the Boss, Ant White, Toast, Ches Duncan, Michael, Alucard, Shades, Mac Wild, Roberto, William, Toast, Token, Black Guy, Nelson, Joshua, Ant White, Kiara, Fareed, So Chill Steve, Royal, KT, Chris, Fonz, Chris, Silver, Andy, MP1, Malt, Lawrence. Ooh, Walt and Lawrence. I know two people named Walt and another named Lawrence. Big Reg, Don the King, Nelson, Dylan, Dark Hero, Tails, Dallas, Chess, Jesse, Jason, Kenny, Winter King, the man you shall call football. Well, interesting name out there. We shall call football indeed today. Liddy Lindo, Jay Corey, JP Duval, Chrome, Rio, W4L3, LG, Isaiah, Lord Ads, Shades, Ace. How is it going? 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 Biggest Nights. How is it going? Tyler. Why, Johnny Tyler? Where you going with that shotgun? Lil J, JC, Measy Mars, Greatest Comrade, Coach, Boomer Sooner, Revamped Media, Jack, Roberto, Kudos. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Kenyon, Randy, Squared in the building. How's it going? Shamari, Micaiah, or Michael. How's it going? 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 How is it going? Korea? Is it Korea? Is that how it's pronounced? Korea? Only Urix. Kevin, KTS_Z, Chrome. How is it going? Dante, what's going on? Now, let's go down what transpired this past weekend. First and foremost, in the chat, if your team was in the play or, participating in Wildcard Weekend, if your team ain't played, then it is what it is. But if your team participated in Wildcard Weekend, I want to see a 1 if your team won. I want to see a 2 if your team lost. 3 if your team ain't make it to the postseason. Or a 4 if your team had a first-round bye. So I should only see 4s from Kansas City Eagles fans. I should only see 3s from teams, or I should say fans of teams that were since eliminated. 1 in the chat if your team won on Wildcard Weekend. 2 in the chat if your team lost on Wildcard Weekend. All right, all of my fellow eliminated Death Note teams, I see all of you. We are sitting here in the Death Note. Now, my number 2s, you are fresh into the Death Note, but I'm seeing a series of 1s, so we got some victors in the building. So congratulations to my victors. LG Patuan said, blast the like button, y'all. By the way, go Bengals. Hey, hit that like button if you haven't already. Please hit that like button. We over 230 already. We only got 43 likes. I need everybody to hit that like button for you, boy. Please help a brother out. Lord knows we got to get them doggone likes up. The like ratio is sitting at like 17%. I got to get my shit up this doggone year. So that's my goal for this year. Try to average at least 40% on the likes to the viewership, whatever the case may be. I appreciate y'all being here. Now, if your team got yourself a W, congratulations. You're in the W column. If your team messed around and got a 2, then you're not going to have a good time. 850 said, how much did this Death Note book cost me? Good question. I think I ordered this maybe about 2-3 years ago. I believe I had ordered it before the, no, I ordered it when I was rewatching Death Note. So I think that might have been 2017. 2016 maybe. I forget, but I've had this for some time. I think this probably went for like $20, $30. I can't recall how much it was, but certainly not over $30. So if you go on Amazon or you just type in Death Note notebook, you'll probably mess around and find one of those. Fun fact, I used to write this is how I know I had it for a minute. Had some old jokes when I was starting in stand up. I had some old jokes that was on there. And whose name is this? Oh, this is when I actually started writing people down to the Death Note. Yeah, that's right. Oh boy. Did she do? Shit, it might be accurate. Whatever the case may be. Kane Key said it's 1975. But whatever the case may be. Nelson said how many names I got down to Death Note. Well, I would say publicly how much people I got written down to Death Note, but I would not want to go to prison for genocide. Not saying that there's powers in the Death Note. Certainly you can find that out for yourself, but we're not talking about that right now. One way or another, Wildcard Weekend has come and gone. Nate the Great in the building. How's it going? Wildcard Weekend has come and gone. Gavo, unfortunately, your Dolphins are headed in the Death Note, or I should say they're already in the Death Note. They're en route to the Shadow Realm. So let's recap what transpired this past Wildcard Weekend. First and foremost, my predictions in Wildcard Weekend, I was 4-2. Who were the two teams that ended up letting me down? One being the Los Angeles Chargers. Two being the Minnesota Vikings. And I'll say this much. Of the two that let me down, by far, the Chargers would be most disappointing. However, I think, in my opinion, the biggest surprise would have to be of what transpired this, wild card weekend, not of the wins and the play of Jacksonville down the stretch, but Miami fucking balled out for a period of time. I was not prepared for them to play at that level. That shit surprised the fuck out of me, and we'll talk about that when we get to that doggone game. But yeah, somehow Staley still has his job, but they fire Lombardi, which they should have fired Lombardi. I have no issue with that, but Staley should have gone as well. Ronnie Pateno said, go Jags. Now, let's get into these doggone games. First and foremost, first game, all right? We have a divisional matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. First and foremost, we, outside of Seattle fans, kind of predicted that San Francisco would take care of business. That defense, no joke. And essentially, in the first half, things were relatively close. And then in the second, it completely unraveled. Dwayne, put 5 on. I can't wait to see my San Francisco 49ers destroy them boys. We shall see that transpire this past weekend. Now, regarding San Francisco and Seattle, first and foremost, Seattle went into the break with a 17-16 lead. The Wards, being Jimmy Ward, Travarius Ward, both of these guys did not really play very well in the first half. Crucial, touchdown that was given up by Travarius Ward against DK Metcalf, and if I'm pronouncing brother's name wrong, blame your parents for naming you that. But no, it's my fault. I should learn it. But whatever the case may be, he got beat by DK Metcalf for a score that Geno Smith threw magnificently down the sideline into the end zone. Then Jimmy Ward decides, when Geno Smith is sliding just before halftime, let me just ram this man on the ground for reasons I can't necessarily identify, thus leading to a field goal attempt for Myers through the uprights and good to give them a 17-16 lead going into the break. And then in the second half, they were shut out until their final drive where the touchdown did not matter, right? So essentially the first half, defensively for the Seattle Seahawks, they didn't necessarily do anything outside of that second to last drive when they stopped them. But that whole second half, all of Seattle's drives, you have that sack fumble that was recovered by Bosa when they were driving, and then they lost all of the momentum after that. You had a punt, then the interception on the very first play following the Niner touchdown, and then finally that 15-play, 75-yard 3-minute touchdown drive at the end when it was already out of reach. Seattle unraveled in the second half because their defense completely fell asleep. The 49ers scored, what was it? How many points did they score in the second? Got 24 points in the second half. You held them to 16 in the first half. That's atrocious. You can't win if your defense can't stop nobody in the postseason. You're going to have a bad time. It wasn't as if, it's like Seattle came for 30 minutes, and then that was pretty much it. It's like you had a booked session with an escort for, 2 sessions at the brothel, and then you got done with the first session, and you sat there satisfied with your orgasm face as if you didn't already have 2 sessions booked. So then when in the brothel, she happened to get back on top of your pelvis, you were not having a good time because the sensitive feeling was still there. And then you had your happy ending already, and then now you had the repercussions of you getting that happy ending early, a la Deshaun Watson. But whatever the case may be, they did not play well in that second half, and that's what ultimately screwed them. Now, MP1, I can't necessarily say it was the fumble that ultimately got them cooked, because although they drove down the field and then Geno Smith got stripped, right? And then 49ers took the football back, their defense could have done what they were doing in the first half and at least held them to a field goal, but that's not what happened. The defense did virtually nothing in the second half. Dice King, Patu said, sharp, your tomahawks, we cooking Jaguar meat. Oh, heavens. But in the second half, what happened after that, the fumble, if I'm not mistaken, right after the fumble happened, it was 7 plays in which the 49ers marched down the field without having to attempt a third down. Purdy was able to find Deebo Samuel. They picked up that first down. Christian McCaffrey ran for 8 yards. Then Christian McCaffrey ran for 12 yards. Then Christian McCaffrey went backwards. And then after that, you had a 30 fucking Jennings finds himself setting up a manageable situation. Then you get yourself into the end zone like it's nothing after fucking Elijah Mitchell, is wide open at Brock Purdy going back and forth and finding somebody open. Like, defensively, Seattle only played 30 minutes, and that's what cost them. That's ultimately what cost them. It wasn't like the 49ers completely, I think it was a situation where they legitimately looked at it like, all right, we're going to play on rookie mode. We're going to sit back. Because they didn't play phenomenal in the first half at all. I think Seattle played a great first half of football, but they forgot after 30 minutes, like San Francisco just, all right, we're going to sit up in our chairs and we're going to take over. And that's exactly what the fuck happened. So for Seattle, I think there's no shame in taking this L. Nobody really expected them to, make it to the postseason. Nobody expected Geno Smith to have this kind of season to where he broke Russell Wilson's, single season passing yardage. He threw a career high in touchdowns. He had career highs across the board. So hell of a goddamn, cover the American Slap Fight League, says kudos. You see, the thing is, I actually have that open on a search bar. I just have to make sure I can get all of the footage from that episode that they had out. So if I could get my hands on all of that shit, then I'll definitely go ahead and cover that. The only downside would be, said copyright. I think this is Dana White's organization, so I got to make sure I'll be able to go ahead and get that going, because I'd be damned if I open up 2023 with a goddamn strike. But Geno, for all intents and purposes, hell of a doggone season. As he said, after I believe it was week 2, week 3, they wrote him off. But he ain't right back though. So since that's the case, good for him. And for San Francisco, they're moving on. And still, that defense is as legit as they come. Minute, or I shouldn't say minute, but the Wards just have to play better. But that front line, their front 7, is magnificent. So I'm curious what it's going to look like against Dallas, and I'll talk about that when I get to my preview, once we get through with everything in Wildcard weekend. But kudos to the San Francisco 49ers. They got the W. Big W, I might add as well. In the second half, they played as perfect of a half of football as one can ask for. So good for them. MP1 said, you wonder what's next for Geno Smith. He will be playing in Seattle next year, I believe. Because I cannot envision a circumstance where, somebody throws all kinds of money at Geno. But I think the safe option would be re-sign at Seattle, unless if somebody throws a bag of money at Geno, I say take the money. because let's just be honest here. I don't know how much money he's accumulated throughout his career. Let me see, Geno Smith contract. Now, if somebody throws some 3-year, $60 million, which they shouldn't, but if they throw that at Geno, I'd say take it. His career earnings at this particular point, and I'm not a pocket watcher, so this is all right. So he has a career earnings of about what, 17 million. So if somebody throws money at him, I mean, this year he's made what? His signing bonus was 500,000. He made what? 100. Oh, pardon me, 1 million. His salary is 1.26, and then he had a 3.5 million in incentives. Hell of a goddamn job for you and the roster bonus. So he was able to make 7 million this year. So approximately he made 10 million before this season, and the incentives took him over to where he made a total of 7 million this year. That's all gross. It's not counting, the net. This man's probably seeing a much smaller percentage of that. But if I was him, I'd stay in Seattle. You stay where it works. Stay where it works. You had your best season here. Unless somebody throws a multi-million-dollar deal, tens of millions at you, I would say stay put. But I can't envision a circumstance where he goes somewhere else. Arif in the building. How is it going? Brandon, how is it going? So congratulations to the San Francisco 49ers. And moving forward for Seattle, I think the future is bright. And again, like I stated on the live stream before, I'm not sure how much longer Pete Carroll will coach. But as long as he coaches this Seattle team, I think it's always going to be a team that can compete, can contend, because they have a lot of vibrance when they're on the field. So it's very interesting. I have no issue with Seattle, but I'm just hoping, moving forward, those guys can stay relatively, healthy, and we'll see what things look like. So there is that. Andy said, is this the last year of football commentary? I can't say the last year, probably the last year of this particular style. So I think I'm going to end up switching it up before, if things haven't already gone stale already. But I think I'm fixing to switch it up, so we shall see. Two Swords, Patuan said, did I see Ronaldo own that bum Messi today? No, I did not. And bum and Messi does not work together in the same sentence. And it's funny that your name is Two Swords, because I know people who would pull out two swords for you disrespecting Messi. But that's a different conversation. I cannot confirm nor deny if I am one of those individuals who shall withdraw a sword for the disrespect of Messi. But whatever the case may be, there is that. Moving on to Saturday Night Football, playoff football, and what was it? The Chargers taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And what ended up happening? At first, the first half was nothing but...
And now go Chargers, go. 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 And now go Chargers, go.
To a 27-0 lead, right? And then ultimately, Jacksonville found a way to go down the field just before halftime and put some points on the board. And what was interesting about that ordeal in the first half was opening drive for Jacksonville, second play of the game, interception, right? Chargers took that incredibly short field, 18 yards, turned it into a touchdown. Next Jags possession, interception again. Then the Chargers turned that into a field goal, right? The next Chargers possession on offense, when they had to go the length of the field and they did not take the football away, it was a 3-and-out. That's interesting. Next Jags possession, interception, right? What'd that lead to? A touchdown. 17-0. Next, Jaguars interception. Another 3-and-out for the Chargers. That's interesting. So it seemed like whenever the Chargers, outside of the second half, did they ever put together a drive where it was the very beginning, they had the football, went the distance. And remember, that field goal that they had after, that was after the muff punt. So all of the Chargers' first half points. Touchdown off of an interception. That's a turnover. Field goal coming off of an interception. That's a turnover. That's 10 points. Touchdown coming off of an interception. That's 17 points. Touchdown. That one, finally, one drive in which they went the distance outside of everything else. 7 points. Every other point that done came in the first half all came off turnovers. What did that tell me? Well, the offense ain't really doing shit unless they're given the football on a turnover. That's interesting. So when the Chargers had the football in the second half and they punted, Jacksonville went down the field, they scored. Then Chargers score. All right, woo! 27, 30-14. We've got the momentum back. Jacksonville scores. Chargers miss a field goal. Jacksonville scores. Chargers 3 and out. Jacksonville wins. What the fuck was the Chargers doing? Moreover, I want to point something out in the second half as it pertains to Los Angeles, right? They came out with a 20-point lead in the second half, right? I'm going to count how many times they ran the football in the second half. Opening play of the second half, they ran the football. Pass, 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 pass. Opening drive, you're up by 20. One rush. Jacksonville goes down the field and scores 13-point lead. Next drive. Pass, pass, pass. Eckler runs. Pass, pass. Field goal. That's 2 times in the second half. That's 2 times. We keep count 2 times. 2 times they ran the football. Jacksonville scores. 10-point game. Next Chargers drive. They lead by 10 here. We're entering the fourth quarter. It was a run by Eckler. That's 3. To enter the fourth quarter. Pass. Oh, Kelly ran the football. That's 4. Kelly ran the football. Herbert gets sacked. They run it again. Or there should be the unnecessary roughness, right? They run it. That's 5. That's 6 now. That's 6. We keep track. That's 6. Pass, 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 pass. Oh, we're going to run it now. That's 7. And then we're going to run it again. That's 8. Pass. Kick the field goal. It's no good. We had 8. Jacksonville goes. They score. Herbert gets sacked. Pass, pass, pass. How the fuck? You got a double-digit lead up until you cut the deficit, or I should say the deficit was down to 1 score. You ran the football 5 times. That makes sense? Does that make sense? Somebody graduated from the school of Kyle Shanahan. Somebody graduated from the school of Kyle Shanahan. Oh, would you look at that? The resident Hobbit is here. Yes, indeed. Derek done recognize the resident Hobbit is here. Hello there. Resident Hobbit, you know who you are. You know, he's the same height of this here chapstick. You know, the resident Hobbit is in the building. So welcome, resident Hobbit. Boy, it's always good to see Marvin in the building. But the Chargers ran the football under 10 times in the second half with a 20-point lead. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying only, run the football, change your philosophy. But let's take into account what transpired in the first half. You only had 1 drive where you didn't benefit from turnovers that generated points. So does that showcase that the offensive philosophy you were using was successful? No. So you did not run the football at all. Lombardi got fired, as he should have been. But the Chargers, you did it to themselves. Moreover, when Jacksonville started making the comeback, it seemed like the Chargers were just like, man, this is so much of an insurmountable lead. But it wasn't. Because if Jacksonville never scored before the end of halftime and it was truly a 27-point lead coming out of the break, the Chargers would have grounds to carry themselves in the second half the way that they did. But these motherfuckers just thought the game was over because it was a 3-touchdown lead. We've all watched football. This season has had the most comebacks in NFL history. And they took their foot off the gas when it was the defense who had their foot on the offense playing lax. We could be cool, calm, collect. I didn't understand it. They did it to themselves. They did it to themselves. And they deserve to have the third largest blown lead in playoff history. It's like I was sitting here watching the game, because remember, I didn't go live for that game. I was sitting here watching the game, and not once did I feel as if the game was completely out of reach. Trevor Lawrence was throwing interception after interception after interception after interception, and then the muff punt. The muff punt kind of made me say, oh, wow, this is interesting. But then when Jacksonville scored before halftime, I said, oh, yeah, this ain't done. People on Twitter going crazy. And what did I say? How many times do I have to keep saying this? In this generation of sports, across all sports, how can you sit here and think a game is over at the midway point? There is no way. There is no way. Because every single year, there's a miraculous comeback that happens. It may be on different scales. It may be on different scales here and there. But every single year, there is a miraculous comeback that transpires. It may not be week by week. Maybe you could get month by month, bi-monthly, whatever the case may be. But how can you watch a half of any sport and be like, man, it's over? There's always a chance for a team to come back. Unless TCU and Georgia. That's a little bit different. TCU and Georgia were a little bit different. Because with TCU, and essentially I was watching, when we were watching the game live, and it was 10-7. TCU's defense couldn't do anything, right? You was just hoping on TCU's offense to mess around and wake up. College football is a little bit different, and it's a little bit more difficult. But ultimately, in sports, period, across the board, there's always an opportunity. You could always mess around and turn things around. Even when we were live for TCU versus Georgia, I still felt as if, man, TCU could have a chance. But the problem was their defense could not stop anybody. It's very difficult to score some of the time. It's another thing if your opponent scores all of the time. You're not going to have a good time. But that's a different conversation, whatever the case may be. Chargers did it to themselves. So you mean to tell me you had a 27-point lead? How many points?
27!
How many points?
27.
And they blew it. They blew it with a point lead. How many points?
27.
Come on, man. You out here with a point lead. And you absolutely blow it. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Because the Chargers, legitimately, this year, this team could have possibly, in the divisional, played Kansas City, a divisional opponent, and maybe made some noise. You want to know why? Because divisional games, you never know what the outcome could be. And I'll touch on that when we get to our Sunday games, which had 2 of 3 divisional games. And the Chargers ultimately really ought to be ashamed of themselves. And I hope they put their head in the dirt. Everybody put their head in the dirt and feel terrible about themselves. Kudos to the Jags for never giving up, never wavering, keep fighting, because they themselves realize, yo, fam, okay, it's a turnover after turnover, turnover after turnover, but we got one whole half of football, and we put together a touchdown drive before the half. There's no reason to be down on ourselves. It's a goddamn shame. Dice King, put 2 on, said John Harbaugh is staying in, you mean Jim Harbaugh is staying in Michigan, hashtag go blue. Turpy, put 2 on and said, Adonis, can you go live for the UFC Jones versus Gane? I might go live for that main event. I believe it's in March. Is it in March? February? Not too sure. I got to figure out what date it is. But I'll try to go live for that main event. Christopher Pafavon said, as a Bengals fan myself, how do you feel about these Bengals and their come up within the last 5 years? Now, I'll say this. Regarding the Bengals, how do I feel about their come up? I think it was a job well done, but across the board with their skilled positions, having a Jamar Chase, a T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, then having a Joe Mixon back there, Samaje Perine, Hayden Hurst. Those guys are very, very good, and they complement that offense. My biggest concern still is that offensive line, but they turned it around the second half of the season. First playoff game really concerned me because remember last year, Joe Burrow got sacked how many times? 19 times in the doggone postseason. That's fucking crazy. So they had better play better. And defensively, getting Mike Hilton really changed that doggone defense. Those guys up for Hubbard, all those different dudes. Drickson. I'm fucking. It's something. Drickson. It's Hendrickson. I think it's Hendrickson. Whatever the case may be. I forget the fucking first portion of the son's name. But very, very good. Stout. Von Bell has really played well this season as well. So it's good for them, and I'm happy for their success. I'm just really hoping that they get that offensive line stuff squared away because they're not gonna have a good time if they cannot go and protect. Man. So there is that. Matthew Pavavo say, hey, Chiseled, been an Eagles fan for years, and I'm going to the Eagles game on Saturday, my first football game ever. Any tips or advice? I'm so hyped. Well, first and foremost, you being an Eagles fan, going to the Eagles game, really enjoy yourself. Don't get belligerent, don't get wild, don't get drunk, don't do nothing crazy. But really immerse yourself in the game. If there's anything I can suggest for you, for one, bundle the fuck up. Don't think because it's a cornucopia of different sort of people all in the same sort of area, everybody screaming that there's going to be heat. It's not. All right, it's fixing to be cold. You're not gonna have a very warm time, so make sure you bundle up, get yourself a number of gloves. Maybe put some latex gloves underneath whatever gloves you wear over to trap that heat, trap that moisture, keep your hands cold. Put on multiple layers of socks, keep yourself warm, and wear two fucking coats on top of each other. But fully immerse yourself in the game. Take your cell phone. Shut it the fuck off. Get your recordings when you want to get recordings here and there. Only record, when they're exiting the tunnel, coming out of the tunnel. Record that when they're coming out the doggone tunnel. When they get near the end zone or things of that nature, when you can anticipate maybe a touchdown happening, then you could take your phone out and record. If you're the type of person who records things and then goes back and legitimately looks at it. But for the most part, watch from the lens of a fan in the stadium. Don't become one of those people who legitimately just sit there all day staring through your phone. It's not worth. Really get in there. High five the people who are around you. Get into conversation about the game with the people who are around you. When a big play happens, you be the first person to jump up, high five the people who are around you. You can boo when the opposing team is out there. Really immerse yourself in the game. Make it fun. Enjoy yourself there. But if you are gonna drink, don't drink too much to where you become incoherent, because at that point, whole lot of different things fixing to go down at that point. Because I've seen people who've drank too much, and then all of a sudden, by second quarter they're the cool drunk, and then by the fourth quarter now they're ready to throw up on the next person who's next to them. Then they have the other drunks who mess around and try to get violent. The worst thing you want to deal with is somebody in your section being absolutely belligerent for no goddamn reason because they're intoxicated. Now you got a shouting match that's going on. You trying to focus on the game, but at the same time, simultaneously, you want to make sure you don't get involved in some shit that got nothing to do with you because they're in close proximity. I went to the Yankee game when they got when I believe they got swept, or it was the third. I forget which game it was. It might no. I don't think it was when they got swept because they played the last two in Houston. So I believe it was game 2 or whatever the case was. They took an L. There was a Astros fan always shouting match back and forth for the Yankee fan. It was a dude and a lady. The dude was the Yankee fan. The lady was the Astros fan. And dude if he swung on her, I got no issues because she was talking way out the side of her mouth. The only problem was there was 2 rows behind me. So you 2 rows behind me, y'all doing this damn shouting match. If somebody get hit and fluid lands on me, now I'm going to have to stand up and represent for the whole Mind Nuggets Incorporated. And somebody going in the dirt, but we ain't talking about that right now. So one way or another, enjoy yourself at the doggone game. Gerald Patuan said, Jones will win by cocaine. Sir, wait a minute. What? Cocaine? First off, Jones, he's indulged in some contraband here and there, but I don't think it's going to be cocaine. If it's going to be any kind of contraband, it's going to be how many grams?
You buy 14 grams of crack. Then you sell it.
Who was on crack?
Now that that's out the way, MDJ put 2 on, said thoughts on Prison Dom so far. It's hilarious. I think he's actually trolling the people. So there's that. But now, yes, no, I didn't do the prediction just yet. We're still going over the recap of what transpired. Now, moving on from Chargers Jacksonville. Congratulations to Jacksonville, showcasing all kinds of resilience, able to go ahead and get that W. Next up, Miami Buffalo. This was a performance I did not expect to see from Skylar Thompson and the Miami Dolphins. That first half had all of the makings of a Buffalo fucking blowout. Keep it a buck. When Buffalo went up 17-0, right? Right after they scored the touchdown off of the interception from Skylar Thompson, when he threw it straight to Mans on the left-hand side of the field that led to the touchdown, Miami punted immediately, and then Buffalo scored that field goal. It was 17-0. Didn't we all feel as if this was going to be a blowout? Didn't we all feel as if this was fixing to be a blowout? I was sitting here looking at the game like, oh, boy. Now, don't get me wrong. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. I'm not going to contradict myself from what I said earlier. Anything can happen. But you're playing a rookie quarterback making his, second start in a playoff game playing against the Buffalo Bills. And the flow of the way the game seemed, because Buffalo had a turnover on downs where they marched down the field and then they became stagnant, right? So it didn't seem as if Miami's defense came to play. 3 and out, touchdown with ease. Then interception, touchdown, no problem. Six play punt, field goal, no issue. It felt like Buffalo offense had no issue whatsoever. All of a sudden, Miami puts together a field goal drive, and you say, okay, they got themselves some points. Great job. I'm not too sure if they're going to be able to do that again. Josh Allen throws an ill-advised interception. So then you sit there like, all right, mistakes happen. Okay, no problem. Miami, off that great return from Howard, now set themselves up for another field goal. Great. Buffalo 3 and out. Wait a minute. Hold on now. Wait, what's going on? You're supposed to be the mighty Buffalo Bill. What's happening here? Miami, field goal drive. After they got a good return, field goal drive. Buffalo get the football again. Interception. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Miami turns it into points, tie game, 2-point conversion, good, tie game, 17-all. What the fuck just happened? It was 17-0 with 12:46 on the clock. Miami scored 17 points off of, they had 2 turnovers, and then also they forced a 3 and out. Where the hell did this come from? Nobody would have seen this shit coming. They tied it up at 17 apiece. I said, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. No, Allen launched it down the field, and I forget who was in. Was it Gabriel Davis who was there and ended up getting picked by Xavier Howard? But he didn't need to. They want to throw them rocket balls. Oh, David, what's going on, brother? So I was sitting there like, yeah, what is happening? Buffalo able to get a field goal before halftime. We open up the second half. Miami does nothing, right? And then like clockwork, first play of the ensuing drive, announcers wasn't even prepared for what was coming. Allen take the snap, no protection. Bam, on the ground, Miami touchdown, the Dolphins in the lead. I'm sitting here cooking HelloFresh, shocked out my ass, looking at the screen like, what is going on? Wait a minute. When Miami took the lead, when I tell you I was glued to the damn television from that point moving forward, I didn't miss a snap for the remainder of the game. I said ain't no fucking way that Buffalo was fixing to fucking blow this game. Because don't get me wrong, The Dolphins had moments during the season. Remember, they started off very well. Then they had a downswing that was brutal. Then they turned things back around. And then they had their whole playoff hopes in question. They were able to sneak their way into the doggone postseason. And then all of a sudden, and mind you, all of this, while hands for the Dolphins were just for decoration. Tyreek Hill dropping balls. Jalen Waddle dropping balls. And the entire time when I was watching, after the Miami touchdown to open up the second half, I said, Miami was able to get 24 points on the board, and their offense had no hands for the first half with crucial drops. So, with that being the case, what if they turn things around in the second half and Skylar Thompson start finding motherfuckers down the field who actually catch it? What if Jalen Waddle has his hands? What if Tyreek Hill has his hands? Buffalo could be in trouble. And what happens? Buffalo, after the touchdown, punts the football. Miami don't do shit. Buffalo punts again. I said, nah. If Miami go up 31-20, hey, Buffalo could be in trouble. But that ain't what happened. I did it. Because Skylar threw that ill-advised interception. And then Buffalo turned it into a touchdown. Miami punted. Buffalo scored again. And then at that point, it said, shit. Now you got yourself a double-digit lead, and Miami got to play catch-up now. And in that particular situation, they were able to benefit off of turnovers in the first half that worked in their favor. Now in the second half, I don't know. But Skylar put together a touchdown drive. They drove all the way down the field. Waddle nearly got into the end zone. He didn't necessarily get there, but luckily enough, Wilson, my name's Jeff, Wilson, got himself into the end zone. Then they cut it down to 3, and now Miami was in an interesting situation because Buffalo got the football back. They went 3 and out. I said, oh, shit, wait a minute. At that point, when they had the 3 and out, I said, I think this could be a Taylor Heineke-like coming out party. But then again, with Heineke, he fell short when he played against, Tom Brady and the Bucs. But it seemed as if the stage was set that Miami was going to fucking take the lead here on this drive of momentum that was about to look crazy, right? And Buff, Lucy, Chloe, please put 2 on, say Jags finna upset the Chiefs. We shall talk about that. Jeff in the building, what's going on? And I said, wait a minute. I think we might just see a miracle transpire here. And that ain't what happened. What ended up happening is Miami went 3 and out. Buffalo punted. Miami went turnover on downs. And they could not catch up, unfortunately. So then Buffalo walked away with the W. And Miami, despite 2 offensive drives to where they could have went down the field and took the lead or maybe a field goal for the tie, did not work out in their favor. Buffalo survived and won this doggone game. Here's the thing, right? I'm not going to say, playoff jitters or whatever the case may be because clearly Buffalo has been in the postseason making runs the last 2 years. Making runs the last 2 years. Last year you could count as a run. They won a playoff game. It is what it is. But ultimately, this was a shocker for them. I don't think they could have fathomed that Miami would have played at the level that Miami played. And truly, if Tua plays in this game, I think Miami would have won. Now, granted, you could play, maybe it would have been a different game. Maybe you don't have to turn those, whatever the case may be. If you just plug and play, put 2 up in there, hey, listen, this is a different game. That's a different game. But it is what it is. Buffalo got the W. Miami ended up losing. I think that's a kind of performance that you can go into the offseason with your head held high and chomping at the bit to go see Buffalo, once more. Because that was a very, very interesting performance from Miami. And hell, like I always say, divisional games, you never know what you're going to get. So divisional games, you never fucking know what you're going to get. And I'm not surprised that the game, down the stretch turned out that particular way. But early on, I did not anticipate at all that it would have turned around and turned into what the fuck it was. I thought it was going to be, somewhat of a slugfest battle, but Buffalo would take care of business. I thought it would be situations where Miami would lose by 3 scores, but they would be it'd be a situation where they're legitimately in the game, but just small things don't go their way. I never fathomed that they would have had Buffalo on the damn ropes, so kudos to them. But big W for Buffalo. Another season with a playoff win, so good for them. Happy for them. Basili said, I see your upcoming video on AB, and you are wrong. AB is a hero. Hey, man, listen. Whatever the case may be, you'll see later tonight. Oh, and fun fact, for the people that had asked, I will be making a video on Team Jackson, what's happening. And most likely I'll mess around. I'll do that. If not tomorrow, then Saturday, because I still have the Street Beef Scrapyard top 5 knockouts that I gotta have out there as well. So, but I will be making a video on Team Jackson, what's happening. So stay tuned for that. But moving on to the second team that let me down, that being the Minnesota Vikings taking on the New York Giants. First and foremost, Vikings defense. I knew you were ass. I did not expect you to be this doo-doo. Like, the Giants were running all over these motherfuckers. Saquon Barkley, whenever he wanted to pick up yardage, he could. Danny Dimes, whenever he wanted to run on the ground. In fact, Daniel Jones ran the football 17 times. 17 times. It's as if the Vikings never considered that Daniel Jones' 700 yards was fathomable. Like, that shit was wild to me. And you know what made things even more concerning? Because remember what I said in my pregame. I expected the Vikings to win this game because I expected them to put pressure on Daniel Jones. And whenever Daniel Jones is under duress, whenever Daniel Jones is flustered or whatever the case may be, he puts the ball on the ground. But guess what? I was wrong for this game. Daniel Jones played as good a game that he needed to play, period, across. If Daniel Jones performs the way he performed last week, I ain't gonna lie to you, dog. Giants can mess around and make a run. Giants can mess around and make a run, legitimate run. Because that dual threat is lethal. That dual threat is fucking lethal. For whatever reason, Slayton was wide open for big first downs on like 3 different drives. How the fuck does that happen? How the hell does that happen? It's like the Vikings defense didn't think they would have to go out there and do fucking work whatsoever. To the Giants fans, I apologize. I'll put my doggone foot in my mouth because even with the D-line, now granted, and I overlooked Lawrence, which I completely forgot about Lawrence because I was so focused on Thibodeau. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about, players having, swagger, a little bit of a, attitude, things of that nature. But Thibodeau kind of come off as an asshole. I ain't gonna lie to you. But whatever the case may be, he's a good football player. But the Vikings O-line had no fucking answer. No answer. The pressure on Cousins this game was wild, bro. And you know what's funny? Cousins ain't even get sacked. He ain't even get sacked. But the D-line was in his doggone face damn near every play. And Cousins played well. That's what's funny. Cousins played well. Yeah, Lawrence was an all-pro this year, a legitimate all-fucking pro, but I forgot about him because I was so fucking focused on Thibodeau. And moreover, when it comes to D-tackles, and Quentin Williams also had a very good season as well, so you could always go Quentin Williams and things of that nature. But I was like, man, Hayward didn't get it. That's some bullshit. Whatever the case may be, I overlooked Lawrence. Should never did that. Should never did that because I was looking at his doggone highlights all doggone year. That boy dog. But big job by the Giants defense. And here's the interesting thing, right? You heard me say it in the commentary. You want to know who I had the biggest problem with from the Vikings? Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook did nothing the whole fucking day. Nothing. Nothing at all. If he ran, and he had 60 yards, but it didn't feel like 60 yards. He had an 11-yard carry. So if you eliminate that 11-yard carry, it's 14 carries for 49 yards. That is shit. That is shit. Don't get me wrong. Vikings O-line did not do very well. But Cook is supposed to be making moves. He's supposed to be making people miss. He's supposed to be making plays. Coming out of the backfield, swing passes, Cook did nothing. On the ground, Cook did nothing. What the fuck? Justin Jefferson was there for the first drive and then nowhere to be found. Where's Justin Jefferson? Where's the gritty? Where's the gritty? Kirk Cousins actually played a good game. I was fine with Kirk Cousins until that final pass, right? TJ Hawkinson was fucking balling all day, balling. He was the number one player for Minnesota this past weekend. But I blame, me personally, Dalvin Cook. He did nothing. He did nothing. Man's had 6 catches for 10 yards. How does that happen? How does that happen? 6 catches, 10 yards. How does that happen? Where's Patrick Star when you need him? That's not what he wanted to cook. Granted, the O-line, you can't run if your line ain't blocking. But Dalvin Cook did not, like, there comes a point where, and you know you're going to be getting the football and swing passes. Sometimes you run that arrow, coming out of the backfield, whatever the case may be. There's no way you don't go converse with somebody like, yo, fam, I can beat this motherfucker. Dalvin Cook was nowhere to be found. And the funny thing about it was, Kirk family member, like I said earlier, he didn't have a terrible game. 31 of 39, 273 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did not play bad. This game ain't on Kirk. Justin Jefferson obviously was getting doubled here and there. He wasn't beating the W team all the time. But TJ Hawkinson messed around and had himself a good game. Minnesota was able to put together a couple of drives. They had cut the deficit here and there. But outside of their opening drive, never did it seem seamless throughout the remainder of the doggone game. And their defense did not show up. Vikings defense, Dalvin Cook, that's who I blame. That's who I blame. Because that's wild to me. I didn't understand. Like, how does that happen? What the hell was the Vikings game plan? And what was so bizarre about their passing game was you have Justin Jefferson that's getting doubled and somewhat eliminated, right? TJ Hawkinson being the only other guy who's getting the football in his hand. Osborne, here and there, would get open, but he was blanketed. Thielen, at this point, man's an old man. I think he's on his, if he don't retire at the end of, this year, maybe next year, I can't envision a circumstance where he plays 3 more years. I don't know. It just seemed very bizarre to me. And my biggest problem, and why I say Dalvin Cook had 19 touches. No, pardon me, 21 touches. And accumulated 70 yards. Even getting the football on a pass, he didn't make nobody miss. He couldn't get shifty. Man, no filter, brother. Says, salute from the boot. How's it going? What's going on? Basili said, Brady really Chris Benoit, his entire family for his first losing season in 2002. No, he didn't have a losing season in 2002, if I'm not mistaken. I believe they went 9-7. That's his first losing season ever. But right now, no, it's not no debate for Brian Dable. It's between Doug Peterson. Is between Doug Peterson, Brian Dable, and Kyle Shanahan. I actually don't think it's no debate for Brian Dable. I don't think it's no debate. And yes, MP1, he slipped on a third down. When he got the football, son of a bitch, he passed it. Kirk family member threw it over the middle. And then Cook had the football. He turned around. This motherfucker lost his footing. How? Yeah, and this is what's so bizarre to me. You playing indoors on turf. How the fuck you losing your foot? Like, this is, mistakes happen. But my thing with Cook was, it seemed like the whole game, this man was just, he couldn't make a play. He made nobody miss all day. He's known for making people miss. Like, that's like Barry Sanders not breaking a tackle in the game, and I'm supposed to sit over here and be like, man, I can't blame Barry Sanders. That shit's wild to me, bruh. No, the Giants held Jefferson in check because after that first drive, they legitimately started doubling him, and it made sense. So that opened up the door for TJ Hawkinson. But the biggest problem was it was only Hawkinson who was, making plays. Cousins had limited amount of time to get rid of the football, and then whenever he threw the ball to somebody else, they ain't fucking make no moves. Shit was wild to me, bro. I was legitimately watching Minnesota's offense like, good God. And then their defense could not stop the run. And then wide open, Slayton. Like, the amount of Giants players that was wide open, it's crazy, bro. Like, Patrick Peterson who was he guarding out there? Nobody. watching people run right in front of him. I think the score to Hodgins in the end zone was right in front of, was it Patrick Peterson? I forget. Whatever the case was, right in front of him. Mans ain't even attempt to guard, bro. Oh, good Lord. So Minnesota, they need to be written down in the death note in all caps, bro. They did it to themselves. They fucking douche, bro. Turby Patuon said, please start doing live UFC calls, please. Oh, well, hey, I'll go live for the main event. Who knows? Maybe I might do the whole pay-per-view. We shall see. Kyle, per 500 said, I just want a fairly officiated game against Kansas City, win, lose. Duval we got Uchi 77 on our side. Rest in peace, brother. Yes, indeed, rest in peace. So whatever the case may be, this right here for the Vikings, really, really, really abysmal performance defensively and from Dalvin Cook. For Kirk family member, that last play, and I'll close it on this for the Vikings. That last play, it was 4th and 7, if I'm not mistaken, with the season on the line. 4th and 8. It's a dump off to Hockenson. And remember, every time that we've gone live, I've had an issue with coaches' clock management, and moreover, when they run crucial plays with one read or everybody going down the field. Here's what I didn't understand, right? They had that roughing the passer penalty. People thought it was bullshit when the Lawrence had hit Cousins in the face mask, right? And I already debunked that in the doggone commentary, right? That should have been, it was a legitimate call. They got it right? That gave them the automatic first down and spotted them at the 33. No, pardon me, at the 40, at the 33. Hockenson moves the chains. Then 2:09 on the clock. Cousins dumps it off to Cook. Cook can't go nowhere. He gets 2 yards. They go to the 2-minute warning to set up 3rd and 8. Cousins tries to find Osborne. Osborne tries to catch with his shoulder pads rather than throwing his hands out in front of him to catch the football. When it was 4th and 8, did y'all notice how Hockenson was the only person who stayed short? I believe that they also had Cook on the other side of the field, but I understood why they didn't go to Cook. Why didn't they play the down to pick up the first down? Everybody else went deep. They were running intermediate to deep routes. Or I should say they were running deep routes. It didn't seem as if anybody was stopping intermediate. Like, what the hell was the play call? You're going to dump it off to Hockenson and expect him to make somebody miss? When the fuck does Hockenson make somebody miss? If you're going to throw that, have Jefferson down there. Hell, Cook had a shit game. Have Cook down there. What was the idea? Shit doesn't make any sense. Hyper, but 5 say, who do I think is going to the Super Bowl and win and why? I'll answer that, but I already said that in week 13 in my prediction. It's going to be Kansas City versus Philadelphia, and Kansas City goes over, and I'll get to that after. But brutal doggone loss for the Vikings. And like I already said, the Vikings and Giants, in my opinion, are both frauds. But right now, Giants, they playing very, very good on both sides of the football. And I ain't gonna lie to you, the Giants mess around and beat Philadelphia. I'm picking the Giants to go representing the doggone Super Bowl in the NFC. I'm not even gonna lie to you, dog. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. If they beat Philadelphia, I'm picking the Giants to go represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Now, that'll be the end of my Giants hatred. I already said I'm retiring at the end of this year, so whatever the case may be, there's that. Now, Baltimore, Cincinnati. Now, this was a divisional game, AFC North-styled football game. Tyler Huntley, John Harbaugh, Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, nitty-fucking-gritty battle in the AFC North. And a lot of people expected Cincy to blow Baltimore the fuck out. Not I. John Harbaugh has, 8 victories on the road in the postseason? You're playing the same team 2 weeks in a row. You playing this team for the 3rd time this season. No Lamar Jackson, but essentially all you need is your defense to show up and give you a chance. You want to know why? Because if your defense can hold them to 10, take the football away or give you a short field, you have a sure kicker who can make it from 60, no fucking problem. Granted, he missed 6 field goals this season, but Because that's the case, Baltimore's got a chance. And since acquiring Raquan Smith, they had been balling. So I already knew coming into this game, man, they can make things interesting. And lo and behold, that's what transpired. Because Cincinnati opened up the game. They went down the field. They scored a field goal. Then Tyler Huntley messes around and gets intercepted because, for whatever reason, he never saw the secondary guy who was standing right there. Huntley spent the entire play staring at Mark Andrews. You saw the zoom, the close-up on the commentary. Mans was just staring. No, they should have paid Lamar. Now they missed their target. Unless they throw like $400 million at him, it's over. I think Lamar's going to go somewhere else. Now, granted, there were people who said that he can get franchise tagged. So since that's the case, I think perhaps that now throws away the theory of him leaving. But if they not throwing $400 million at that man, I'm not even going to lie to you, dog. I think Lamar's gone. But Huntley stares at Mark Andrews the entire play, and then he gets intercepted. I said, oh, boy, well, this is about to be a bad time for Baltimore. Cincy turns that into a touchdown, but they missed the extra point. Then Baltimore does something that I did not think I was going to see. A fucking 17-play, 10-minute, 75-yard drive. I said, oh, shit, wait a minute. Not only did they chew up clock, they got themselves a touchdown and marched down the fucking field with authority. Got the football back on a fumble, added a field goal, took the lead, and went into the half with a 1-point lead. I said, this AFC North football right here, Baltimore got a chance. I was texting my friends. I'm like, yo, dog, listen, I ain't gonna hold you. Baltimore got a legitimate chance here after watching that half of football, because that's not a fluke half type of situation. They played legitimate fucking football offensively to go and get a nitty-gritty score. I said, shit, well, here we go. Then what happens? Into the second half we go. They punt. Since he gets the football, marches down the fucking field, 12-play, 83 yards, 7-minute drive of their own, adding a touchdown. They ended up getting that 2-point conversion as well. They lead by 7, right? What does Baltimore do? They do it again, but in a small period of time, 5-play, 81-yard, damn near under 3-minute drive, wide fucking open was a Demarcus Robinson on the left side of the field. I said, wait a minute, of course. Who was guarding him? Eli Apple. Who likes roasted apples? Everybody. Well, I've never eaten one before. Go play wide receiver, line up on any side of the field, have Eli Apple across from you. You will like roasted apples. They are delicious. They taste good all the time because it's guaranteed you gonna get 6. Remember when Peyton Manning was playing at Tennessee? Give him 6. That's what you're going to get every time you line up against Eli Apple, bruh. That man cannot guard a soul. You kidding me? Dude is trash. As it pertains to his contemporaries. He's good enough to make it to the NFL. I ain't saying that he's completely garbage. He's not a terrible football player. But Robinson torched this man on the double move. And then easily we got a tied 17-7 game. But then this is when it gets interesting. Cincinnati goes 3 and out. And what do the Ravens do? 9-play, 80-yard drive. Drive all the way down the fucking field. At this point, I said, yo, if the Ravens score here, it's over. And then what happens? Tyler Huntley at the full 1-yard line on a QB sneak on 3rd down, when we already know this is 4-down territory for John Harbaugh, knowing his track record. Huntley goes airborne, tries to jump over the line. Here's what I don't understand, right? It was a designed QB sneak. No. They were at the 1-yard line, right? Because remember, on the play before, Gus Edwards, who nearly had the touchdown, he was stopped at the 1. But it was a long yard. that they had. Picard was pushing Hundley. So when it was the designed QB sneak, I'm sure the idea was for him to tunnel in betwixt his linemen to try to get inside. Why go over to, and what made even worse was Hundley immediately jumped, extended the football, the total of the yard. I don't know if he ever went over top before. That was a terrible attempt to go over because everything was so telegraphed. He should have just, and what made matters even worse was if he just tucked it down and tried to go forward, he would have made it in because Picard rammed right into him, pause, like a goddamn locomotive, and he would have scored the touchdown. But instead, he tried to go over top and kept the football out to where it got punched out of his hands, right into the hands of Hubbard. And he said, "Oh, heavens, I have the football." Took off running the other way, right? Johnny on the spot. Football didn't even touch the ground, right into his hands. Gus Edwards was 3.5 yards in front of Mark Andrews. This motherfucker jogging. He wasn't on the injury report for no lower extremities injuries. Granted, he had I believe it was a knee or an ankle early on in the season, so maybe that was bothering. But this motherfucker jogging. Hubbard ran like a 4.9, and he's older now, so he probably run a 5 flat. Gus Edwards jogging on the goddamn return. Now, granted, I recognize he ran the football to play before, so maybe he's a little bit tired. But this the playoffs. You're not allowed to be tired. Gus Edwards jogging. Mark Andrews shoots out of a fucking rocket, flying down the field to try to stop Hubbard. Gets pushed in the back. He gets pushed in the back. He gets pushed in the back. And here's why I say it's a block in the back. Not because when I was in college, I got called for a block in the back on a touchdown score. But because of the placement of the hands, the direction of the fall, the location of the referee, the circumstance of the play, everything should have been called for a block in the black. Don't get me wrong. He was at the side when he had first done the extension. But by definition, from what the referees have written down in their book, moreover, the history of them making the call should have been called for a block in the back. Because we've seen block in the backs get called on situations like that. Remember a couple years ago, the call against the Lolly Lule Low on, I believe it was a punt block touchdown? That was the same scenario. They called it block in the back. I said, interesting. Now, I'm not saying that the referees should just be, type of situation. Looking at the block, I said, if they call block in the back, I completely understand. Given what they've called throughout the year, I think they should have called block in the back. But whatever the case was, it is what it is. My biggest concern on that damn play was two things. One, why the fuck did Tyler Huntley want to go and jump immediately over and keep the football out like nobody was going to try to punch it? And then two, the fuck happened to Gus Edwards to why the man was jogging? I didn't understand it. Whatever the case was, Bengals took the lead, and then pressure was on Baltimore. The moment that the Bengals scored that touchdown on the return, I said, yeah, Baltimore's finished. Because that right there would have taken the soul out of that offense, and that's exactly what happened. 3 and out, 5 and out, and surprisingly enough, their defense kept holding. The defense kept holding, not holding like the penalty hold. The defense, back-to-back punts from Cincinnati, right? Then on the last Ravens drive, right? Here's what ain't make no fucking sense. 3 minutes left to play. They trailing by 7. We all know how Harbaugh operates. They're not going to play for no fucking overtime. If they score, they're going for 2, and you're either going to win here or lose here, period. That's going to be it, right? So we already know the situation. Baltimore has a 1st and 10. They pick up 6. They pick up 4. 3rd and 2. Hill tries to get the first down. Doesn't. It sets up a 4th and 1. They have 2 timeouts remaining. We go to the 2-minute warning. We come out of the 2-minute warning. 4th and 1. Tyler Huntley sneaks, or doesn't necessarily sneaks. He runs outside, blitzes to go pick up the first down. He does. He keeps the drive alive. Baltimore has 2 timeouts. They're now at Cincinnati's 33-yard line. They have 2 timeouts. They huddle up, send in substitutions, exhaust the entire play clock, and take the snap and waste 35 seconds. You came out of the 2-minute warning on 4th and 1 with all, because let's just keep it a buck here. This situation, you're planning for the 4th down conversion and the following play. How do you pick up the 4th down conversion and you're not immediately going no huddle? I'm confused. How does that happen? And remember, this has been a running trend for the last 3 years. Every time we watching a playoff game, at least once per weekend, we see terrible clock management. Y'all pick up a first down on 4th down. This is the playoff game here. You're inside, deep in Cincinnati's territory. You have passed the halfway, well, you're approaching the halfway mark because it's 50 yards, so you're approaching the halfway mark. You pick up the first down. You didn't have a play prepared for if you pick up the first down. Moreover, it wasn't as if adjustments were made at the line. They stepped to the line with like 8 seconds left on the play clock. So I said, all right. Huntley's pass is incomplete trying to find Dobbins, right? Next play, illegal hands to the face results in an automatic first down. No play, right? 1:17 on the clock. Now they're approximately at the halfway mark. They're at Cincinnati's 28. 2 timeouts, 1:17 on the clock. Huntley dumps it off to J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins picks up the first down to Cincinnati's 17-yard line. They have passed the halfway mark. 2 timeouts in their pocket. They took the snap at 1:17. He got tackled at about, I believe, 1:08, 1:09, 1:07. These motherfuckers did not take a play until there was 34 seconds on the clock. Or I should say, they didn't take the snap until there was about 40 seconds on the fucking clock. They wasted the entire play clock. They huddled up. They were lollygagging. It's as if they were just sure they were going to score. Where the fuck is the sense of urgency? If you're not going to use your time out there, you would at least take that snap before you pass the minute. How the fuck y'all pick up the first down? You're at Cincinnati 17. You're in the Tokokino zone. You're now in the red zone. You exhausted the entire play clock. You're a backup quarterback. You've got your backup quarterback in, trailing by 7, on the road. This is now the second time y'all pick up a first down and you don't have a second play ready. Now, Young Breezy said they was eating up the clock, so since he couldn't get the ball back. Here's the problem. You're trying to eat up the clock, but you don't even have plays prepared to be successful. It's one thing, because here's my thing, right? If you're going to eat up the clock, you get to the line and you start doing all these series of checks to confuse the defense. They huddled up, came out, showed one look, called hike, ran the play. It's one thing to prevent the opposing team from getting the football back. You still losing by 7. If it was a tie game, that's one thing. You losing by 7. The only time I would say it's appropriate to then completely burn clock, you get inside the 5, set up a 1st and goal where you got 4 shots at the end zone to tie. Now you're comfortable to go and try to run the clock. You too far away. You just got to the 17. You got 2 timeouts in your pocket. You don't even have a play prepared. You run it down to 30 seconds. You're just certain you're going to find the end zone? You don't got the lead. Therefore, you don't got the facilities to sit here and think you have the damn green light to run clock. Then, what happens now? They call hike. Pass sales incomplete, right? Very next play. They run Hill because now, we're going to try to catch them slipping. Let's try to run the football. They get an offensive hold. That now takes it down to 22 seconds remaining. 2nd and 20. They're at the 27-yard line. What happens? Trying to find Mark Andrews, incomplete. Very next play, 15 seconds. Try to find Mark Andrews, incomplete. Now, 4th and 20. This is when they finally use that timeout. How the fuck? You didn't call that timeout until there was 8 seconds left. You had it in your back pocket since the beginning of the second quarter. Pardon me, the 2-minute warning. How the fuck does that happen? How does that happen? You could have used your timeout to talk over what plays you could have ran. But instead, they should have immediately called, for one, after they picked up the first down on 4th down, coming straight out of the 2-minute warning, they could have used the timeout then. If you're not going to use a timeout, I would assume during that 2-minute warning break, you would have had 2 plays already prepared. Because like I said earlier, you're not allowed, or I should say, you don't have the clearance to try to burn clock if you don't have the lead or are in a position to then take the lead or tie the game. First, put yourself in the position to where now you can create that leverage. They don't have that leverage yet. You then find yourself inside the 17. You bring the clock to 117. You don't call that timeout. You waste the total 40 seconds of the play clock for no gain. You went nowhere and then went backwards because of a hold. That's craziness. They did it to themselves. This was a situation where Baltimore, if you looked at John Harbaugh and be like, yo, what the fuck? It's one thing to be like, man, we had a backup quarterback. It's another thing to have an offense that was in the position to possibly mess around and score, and you had them unprepared. The Ravens were completely unprepared. That ending portion, they did that shit to themselves. Forget Cincinnati. They did it to themselves. Mark Andrews, I was going to try to hit him down the sideline, but he lost his footing. You should have already had way more time to have a situation like that. It didn't make any sense. What were you holding your timeouts for? I don't understand. Shit was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It made no sense to me. It made no sense to me. These past 3 years, Harbaugh's clock management and decision-making down the stretch has been brought into question. Shit don't make no sense, bro. They didn't move with a sense of urgency. It seemed as if they were like, all right, cool. You know, our offense, we had 2 long drives. Well, 3 long drives. No, actually 2, because the other one to Demarcus Robinson was relatively short. You had 2 long drives. One ultimately resulted in that fumble that was taken for a score, and then you also had scored one as well. But shit ain't make no doggone sense to me. I didn't understand it. I did not understand it. No sense of urgency whatsoever. How do you come out of the 2-minute warning unprepared with that second play. There's nothing that I despise more because you planned that fourth down play to get the conversion, so you better have a second play prepared. And they didn't. And then they picked up the first down with 1:17 left. 2 timeouts in your pocket, you don't use it. What are you waiting the timeout for? If you use one, you still got one to spare, so you would be good. But what was the game plan letting all of that time run? That shit just don't make no doggone sense. So ultimately, Cincinnati, they moving on. Next, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Dallas Cowboys. I'll say this much right now. I believe that Tom Brady's played his last game. And it's not to say that he don't got it no more. I just do not see where he goes from here. I think he's still chasing the dragon. And right now, what team is complete and a quarterback away or free agency, grabbing different sort of people, making trades? It has to be the right situation, right? But before we even get into Brady, pause. Dallas took care of business. Dak Prescott, fucking amazing game. Amazing game. Amazing game. And he took down Tom Brady. And Dak was responsible for 5 touchdowns. Cowboys' offense looked magnificent. Now, I will say this, and I've already been saying it all season. Zeke is replaced by Tony Chopper Pollard. There was 3 different plays. Zeke had sensational blocking. He ran into the fucking defense instead of running through the hole and cost himself a whole lot of yardage. People are exposing it on Twitter. I pointed out a couple of them while we was live. It's over for that brother. I think he's I'm not gonna say he's played his last down as a Cowboy. Or I should say this season will be his last year as a Cowboy, but do not be surprised they try to move that man because he's getting paid, what is it, like $100 million, some shit like that? Do not be surprised they try to move that man. But hell of a job by Dallas. I predicted that Dallas would win this game. They came through and did what they needed to do. Dalton Schultz was wide open all of the doggone time for whatever reason. Shit was completely crazy, bro. Shit was wild. Macho Patuan said donations. Lamar to the Colts. Well, I don't know about all that one. Miles Pafavon said, I was at Bengals versus Ravens for your B-Day. As a Bengals fan, we should have lost that, but got lucky. Hopefully, they do better against the Bills. Indeed. Dallas absolutely shellacked Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's offense has not looked very good thus far this season, and this game, they looked atrocious. 3 and out. Interception. 5-play punt. End of half. 3 and out. 8 and out. Then they finally scored a touchdown. Turnover on downs. Scored the touchdown, and then ultimately the turnover on downs because fucking Mike Evans done forgot about his hands. So, whatever the case may be, Dallas played a stellar game. There's nothing else that has to be said. Dallas played a very, very, very stellar game. Brett Maher missing extra points. What's good with your leg, bro? What's good with your leg? I need to find Brett Maher right now. And they need to grab this brother like, take his leg. Take his leg. Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody has bad games. That happens. Everybody has bad games. That happens. And I would hope that he bounces back this next week. But 4 missed extra points in a row, that's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy. Because he kept it a 3-possession game. And like I said on the live stream on Monday, despite the fact that it seemed like the game was out of reach, it still felt like Tom Brady could have led a comeback. And after Tampa scored that touchdown, boy, it felt like Tom Brady was about to, pull off a doggone miracle. But whatever the case may be, sensational win for Dallas. They took care of business. Fat Sam said, no matter who wins, they're both cheeks. Well, whatever the case was, Dallas took care of business. And I'm sure Cowboy fans around the doggone country was over there. Yeah, baby. Yeah. We them boys. What I tell you, we was going to take down the GOAT. The GOAT. And we was going to hand him an L because Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, sometimes Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Chopper Pollard, C.D. Lamb, Blake Darwin, Micah Parsons, Vander S., Trevon Diggs, Jerry Jones, Tony Romo on commentary, Troy Aikman on commentary, Skip Bayless the analyst, Michael Irvin. We them boys. We're going to go and win the Super Bowl. First time since 96. We're going to the NFC Championship. We're going to take care of business. We never gonna lose again. So, that was weird. Whatever the case may be, Dallas took care of business and absolutely crushed Tom Brady and the Bucs' dreams. Now, without question, the Bucs were not the better team. We already knew this. And also, if you guys haven't already, click the link in my description. Download Underdog Fantasy app if you have not already. I walked away with 115 on the night on Underdog Fantasy from that Monday night game. So I had myself a little bit of money. And then also, the other night, I won myself $120. The only downside was Kyrie Irving didn't play. But I won $120 on Underdog Fantasy as well. So if you guys haven't already, click the link in my description. Download the Underdog Fantasy app if you haven't already. They will match your deposit up to $100 alongside participating in the Pick'em. That is my personal favorite on the app. But the Bucs simply were not the better team, and the Cowboys took care of business. There's really no more that has to be said. They dominated that game, and it was Dak Prescott who showed up and showed out after what was allegedly his worst game of the season. So big ups to the Dallas Cowboys. Big ups to the fucking Dallas Cowboys. Hell of a doggone way to go and take care of business. But onward to the divisional round of the playoffs, and we don't need to go too extensive on what's going to transpire. So first and foremost, I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to go in game order, right? And kudos to the Dallas Cowboys. There's nothing else that has to be said about that game against fucking Tampa Bay. They got themselves some vengeance. First time they defeated Tom Brady. Hell of a goddamn job. I'm happy for them, but they really took care of business. They really took care of business. Now, moving on to next week, all right? And of course, they're in the main event of divisional weekend. Jacksonville, Kansas City, right? I don't know if y'all saw already. First and foremost, I want to see in the comment section, who do you guys believe will win between Jacksonville and Kansas City? Who do you guys believe who will win between Jacksonville and Kansas City? Silky says KC. In a landslide. Mr. Cliff says KC. Lee says Jags. Hello there, John D. How's it going? Kid Dynamite says KC. KC. Raven said KC. Lawrence said KC. Big Humphus said KC. Julio said the Jags. All right. I'm seeing a lot of KC. Oh, I'm seeing a few Jags coming in now, but it's predominantly KC. Jason said upset alert. Ant says KC. Kashawn says KC. Nelson says KC. Malone said Chiseled the GOAT. Oh, no, I am no GOAT. But I'm working till I. Raven said Kermit. Yeah, Patrick Kermit the Frog Mahomes. Now, whatever the case may be, here's my thing, right? Martinez said Chiefs, but anything can happen in the divisional round. Here's my thing, right? I believe that Kansas City will win this game, not because I chose them to go all the way and win the Super Bowl, but Kansas City, if they don't turn the football over, I'm confident in that offense to march down the field no problem. Moreover, Everett, who plays tight end for the Chargers, had a magnificent day. And if he had that kind of game against Jacksonville in the wild card, Travis Kelce, who shows up every time in the postseason, you think this man ain't fixing to have himself a big-ass fucking game against Jacksonville's defense? You think if they could not slow down Everett, you think they about to slow down? When was the last? Travis Kelce hasn't found the end zone in some time. And I would highly doubt that streak is fixing to continue to go. Travis Kelce ain't score a touchdown since fucking November. He hasn't scored a touchdown since November. And in that time, he still had decent games, but he hadn't scored a touchdown since November. You think this man is not about to fucking go beastly and go find the end zone? He scored in 7 of his last playoff games. Pardon me. He's actually scored. If it take his last 9 playoff games, he scored in 7 of them. Multiple touchdowns in 2. He's gone over 90 yards in the last 6 playoff games. There is no doubt in my mind Travis Kelce's going to fucking eat. Period. He's going to fucking eat. Jacksonville's defense was able to crunch down on the Chargers offense, right? That ain't going to be the case against Kansas City. I think Kansas City is going to take care of business in this game. I'm not going to go and say handedly, but I'm going to take Kansas City to win this game. I'm going to go ahead and say 34-24, and I think Jacksonville ends up scoring a couple of garbage time. Or I shouldn't even say garbage time. I think Jacksonville's going to play a little bit of catch-up towards the end. I do not see this being relatively competitive. I'm sorry. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. Jacksonville may be a team of destiny, but it's just Kansas City, unless they come out completely flat on defense, not offense, because on offense, they could chill and turn shit around. I'm not concerned about their offense. If their defense comes out flat, Jacksonville got a game. Jacksonville got a game. But if if Kansas City's defense comes out, because here's the difference. If Kansas City has that 27-0 lead, they're not going to blow it. They're not going to blow it. Every game is different. Every team has a chance to win, but let's just keep it a buck here. Kansas City, miles better than the Chargers. But it's any given Sunday. It's any given Saturday. You never really know. And here's the biggest thing, right? Here's the biggest thing. Kansas City will run the football. Kansas City will run the football when they have to. Jerick McKinnon has been a fucking touchdown machine as of late. Pacheco has been able to be an angry young runner, whatever the case may be. Jacksonville, if they come out thinking that they're going to be like the fucking Chargers and throw, they don't have to. But best believe Kansas City does not have to. They will turn around and hand that football off. And because they're going to have access to the entire doggone playbook, I'm taking Kansas City to win this game 34-24, but Jacksonville scores that 24 relatively late. I think Kansas City is probably going to mess around and have like a 20. I'm going to go ahead and say it's going to be like a 21 to like a 21-3 kind of lead into like the fourth quarter or third quarter or whatever the case may be. They're going to be in control damn near the entire game. I'm taking Kansas City to win this doggone game. Now, here's the difference. Kansas City blew that lead last year. The Bengals were just like a team of fucking destiny. And for whatever reason, the Bengals have the the Bengals have Kansas City number. Bengals have Kansas City number across the board. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. It's one of those teams that's a bane of your existence. It's a little bit different. Kansas City has, Cincinnati has Kansas City's number. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. That's a different sort of situation, right? But I'm taking Kansas City to win this doggone game. Lord, Pafavon said, Chiefs should win this, but the Jags were my dark horse playoff team, so I'll be rooting for them. I do think the Jags offense can make this a game. I do agree. Jacksonville's offense can make this a game. If Kansas City's defense comes out lax, we got ourselves a game. But if Kansas City's defense comes out 3 and out, forcing interception, 3 and out, or forcing punts, all this other stuff, there's only so many times you can give the football back to Patrick Mahomes and not expect that man to go out there and make a score. Now, here's the only concern that I have for Kansas City's offense. If Mahomes throws those dumbass interceptions like he's been doing thus far this season, upset alert can mess around and transpire. If Mahomes start trying to do that hero ball, I'm going to do this behind the back, I'm going to throw this football in this particular manner, they're going to have a bad time. As long as he doesn't do those dumbass fucking interceptions, they should be fine. But for all intents and purposes, I'm taking Kansas City to win this game. But I'm hoping Jacksonville proves me wrong. I'm really hoping Jacksonville proves me wrong. But, and again, I'm so happy that you brought that up, Nelson, because I was about to get to that next. Doug Peterson loves to showcase his moxie, and he's going to go for it on fourth down. Here's what I think is going to happen in the first half. I think Jacksonville is going to have a drive where they go down the field, right? Let's just say Kansas City is leading by 10, 7, whatever the case may be. The flow of the game will feel relatively even. I think Doug Peterson is going to go down the field, find himself in a situation where he's at about the 38, 39, 40-yard line of Kansas City, where you either take a 55, 54, 58-yard field goal, or you go for it on like a 4th and 3, 4th and 2, 4th and, 4. I think Doug Peterson's going to mess around, try to go for it, mess around, and it be turnover on downs, and that's the fucking shift for Kansas City. I think that'll be the turn of the tide that ultimately costs Jacksonville. I think the balls that Doug Peterson loves to showcase mess around and fucking come back to bite him. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose Kansas City to win this game 34-24, or maybe even 34-21. But you know what? Yeah, I'll go 34-24. And I got Jacksonville losing this doggone game. Moving on to the Saturday night game between the New York Giants taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. And I ain't even going to lie to you, dog. I really, all day today, I was wrestling with this. I really want to pick the Giants in an upset. I really want to pick the Giants in the upset. I'm not even going to lie to you. Really want to pick the Giants in the upset. But Philly, these past few games, when Jalen Hurts is in, Philadelphia is a different football team. Philadelphia is a complete different football team, right? These dudes here, if Jalen Hurts plays his style of football, there should be no fucking reason why the Eagles lose this football game. There should be no reason. The last 3 times these teams saw each other, Philadelphia took care of business, right? Jalen Hurts has played good. Boston Tea Party Michael Scott is the fucking giant killer. He is the giant killer. For whatever reason, he finds the end zone every time they play. Very bizarre. I don't understand it, right? But whatever the case may be, Philadelphia should win this game no problem, one would think. Here's where I think this all changes. Because you got 2 dogs, or I should say the O-line for the D-line for the Giants were hunting Kirk Cousins. They didn't sack him, but they were hunting Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins doesn't have the element to run, right? Hurts, on the other hand, does. So if he hops in that rental car, turns on that doggone ignition, then puts that foot on the gas and starts running, things can get a little bit interesting, right? Giants may consider doubling A.J. Brown, but then you have Devontae Smith who can get open and torch you as well. So you have to remain honest. Miles Sanders is not only a threat on the ground, but also through the air. So with that being the case, the Eagles have an offense that, in my opinion, is much more dangerous than what Minnesota had to offer, right? Then, Lane Johnson being healthy for this game is big for Philadelphia. Jason Kelsey is a monster up front. It's going to be him one-on-one against Lawrence, right? 2 all-pros going against each other. If Kelsey starts losing the doggone battle, Philly's going to have a bad time. It's all about the 2 lines. Philly's O-line, Giants' D-line. That's where the game is going to have to be won. If the Giants' D-line starts getting the best of Philly's O-line, this game's over. Giants are winning. Period. Bottom line, I don't give a fuck about the rest of the skill players. If the D-line shuts down the run and Jalen Hurts gets antsy in the pot, it's over. It's over. Giants are going to fucking win. I promise you that. Fuck everything else. If the D-line starts creating situations. Now, granted, Kirk had a very good game last week throwing the football, but when he was under duress, it was not a very good time, right? If the Eagles' O-line starts getting dominated and they start finding themselves in Hurts' lap, it's fucking over. Keep it moving. How you doing? It's done, right? Now, on the flip side, and the Eagles are healthy, right? The Eagles are healthy, so this should not happen, judging by what they did during the regular season. Here's where my concern happens, right? The Eagles' defense, Giants' offense, right? The Eagles cannot, under any circumstance, allow Daniel Jones to fucking run. Danny Dimes throwing the football, I think the Eagles will be okay, right? They cannot, under any circumstance, allow Danny Dimes to fucking run. Period. If Danny Dimes runs for 70 yards like he did against the Vikings, the Eagles are going to have a bad time. They're going to have a bad time because now you're going to keep somebody to try to stay at home for Daniel Jones on the boot, and then you're going to give the ball to Saquon Barkley. Motherfuckers going to forget how to tackle, and then the Giants going to have the game. So there's two things to look out for this game for the Eagles where things can go awry. If your O-line is getting dominated, the Giants don't even need to get sacks. If the penetration is enough to shut down the run and make the pass uncomfortable, that's more than enough. The D-line wins against the Eagles O-line. The Philadelphia is in trouble, right? So you've got to hold your own against the Giants' defensive line. Next, you cannot allow Danny Dimes to scramble. If you take those two things away, Philly wins this game, no problem. If you're the Giants, right, on defense, here's what they need to prevent. Right now, it's the same thing. You got to shut down Jalen. Don't let Jalen Hurts run, right? Here's what the Giants need to do. They got to cover their fucking ass off. They got to cover their ass off because A.J. Brown will be quiet for like a quarter. He won't do shit. Nah, man, I forgot 11 was on the field. Then he'll explode down the field somewhere. Oh, shit, well, you didn't guard that guy. What's going on? Because unlike the Vikings, I promise you Philadelphia going to find the end zone a whole lot of times, bro. I promise you that's fixing to go down. Philly will find the end zone like it's nobody business. The Giants had better fucking cover and force Hurts to try to win with only running the football because it's going to be only a matter of time before he makes that mental mistake of, oh, you know what, nah, I've been running too long and try to throw the fucking football or whatever the case may be in an interception or some shit like that. Philly, in my opinion, should win this game, and I'm actually going to pick them to win this game. And depending on Hurts' performance, I believe that is what's going to dictate the MVP. I think Mahomes may have stole it from him, but Hurts can get it back with a great, divisional playoff performance, also NFC Championship if they were to get their kind of performance. But whatever the case may be, I'm choosing Philly to win this game. But if you're Hurts, you've got to play turnover-free football. I think if Philadelphia doesn't turn the football over, I think they win this game. And moreover, up front, control and protect. And then on defense, shut down Danny Dimes to running. No, MVP shouldn't account for playoffs, but let's just keep it a buck. It's always what have you done for me lately in certain sort of awards. Like there's some awards where you know who the fucking MVP is, but let's keep it a buck. Go back to 2016. Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan. That NFC Championship game wasn't only for the right to go to the Super Bowl. That was also who's the fuck going to win the MVP as well. Because the race was so doggone close, so you needed something to give to the other person. Let's just keep it a buck. There's times in which you look at it going into the, you're in the playoffs. Now they don't give out the award right after the regular season like they should. So then when you're sitting there and it's a close race, really it's Hurts, Mahomes, Burrow is hovering in the area. But it's Mahomes, Hurts. If Hurts mess around and get eliminated, Mahomes getting that fucking MVP. I promise you he will. It's supposed to be a regular season award, whatever the case may be, but I'm telling you right now, I believe they're going to take the playoffs into account. I believe they're going to take the playoffs into account. I always feel as if they lying to the people. Well, it's only a regular season award. We don't look at the playoffs. Yeah, all right. You gonna give it out? You gonna give it away before the Super Bowl, or you think you're not gonna take into account the playoffs? Come on now. I don't believe you, but whatever the case may be, I got Philadelphia winning this game. It's divisional game, so I don't expect it to be too big of a spread. I got Philadelphia winning this game 28-24. 28-24. 28-24. But New York, if they win this game, I'm picking them to win the Super Bowl. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. If they win this game, they're going to the Super Bowl. But I got Philadelphia winning this game 28-24, and I think the Giants have a legitimate push towards the end of the game to make this relatively interesting. I don't think it's going to be a situation where the Giants have the lead and Philadelphia has to play the comeback game. I think it's going to be a situation where the Giants are making a furious comeback, and then Philadelphia ultimately takes the football away at the end of the game, probably the first turnover of the game to win this doggone game. But let me tell you something right now. If the Giants win this doggone game, I'm picking the Giants to win the Super Bowl. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. I don't fuck with nobody say. So we shall see what the fuck is going to happen. Oh, Curry hit a shot from half court. Well, what do you know? But whatever the case may be, that is my prediction there. Now, moving on to Sunday. Cincinnati-Buffalo, rematch of the Monday night game that got canceled. Now, with this here is interesting, right? So this particular game, oh, shit, it's 8:30. But this particular game is relatively interesting because both these teams did not necessarily perform very well in the wild card round, but they both played against divisional opponents. Buffalo is, I believe, between the two, the better team. But Cincy is riding high. But last week's playoff performance kind of concerns me. But the same can be said about Buffalo as well. I think this game will be relatively close. I expect both defenses to not really play their best games, but I think there will be ill-advised turnovers as well. And I think this game, for all intents and purposes, should go into overtime, but I think it comes down to the last play in regulation, and it'll be a game-winning field goal for the right to go to the AFC Championship, and I'm leaning towards Buffalo. I think Buffalo will win this game 38-35. I think Buffalo wins this game at the end of regulation. I think both offenses, have monstrous days. I think Burrow throws for 400 yards. I think Josh Allen has a total of 400 yards all-purpose. I think he throws for like 300-something and rushes for well over 60. And I think Buffalo is going to win this game, and it's going to be a field goal to win that game. I think there'll be a little bit of a spirit of Damar Hamlin in the building that will guide them to a victory. I think Cincinnati is going to, at one point take that take a double-digit lead somewhere in the second quarter or maybe the third quarter, and then Buffalo kind of, hits fire, ties up the game late, and then ultimately kicks the game-winning field goal. I think it's going to be a day where the defenses just are not showing up. And moreover, those mistakes that both teams were making in the wild card, they don't necessarily make. I think whoever has the football last wins this game on a game-winning field goal, and I think it will be Buffalo. So I'm going to take them to win this game. 12:05 for life. But 2-1 said if Burrow wins, he's going back to the Super Bowl. Here's the interesting thing about it. If Cincinnati plays against Kansas City again, I actually think Kansas City will get them this time. But whatever the case may be, I'm taking Buffalo to win this doggone game. Ali said, what if the Damar Hamlin tragedy happened in the playoffs? Well, if that happened in the playoffs, I ain't gonna lie to you. I think that the game would have had to be rescheduled legitimately. But who knows? But whatever the case may be, I think that Buffalo is going to get this game in a gritty battle and ultimately come back, to tie it up in the fourth quarter, and then ultimately game-winning field goal. Buffalo wins this game to move on. And again, I think it's going to be an offensive day where you've got well over 800 yards of total offense. And both defenses are absolutely worn out. It's going to be one of them days where the defense is on the sideline. Bruh, I think it's going to be one of those type of situations. So I'm going to take Buffalo to win this game. And then last but not least, San Francisco, Dallas. Rematch of last year's wild card in Santa Clara this time. Oh, boy. This is interesting. This one's interesting. Because Dallas's performance last week was magnificent, right? And San Francisco in that first half did not play their best, but then the second half, they played amazing. These two teams have a storied rivalry in the postseason. Brock Purdy has never given anybody a reason outside of just being a rookie to doubt him. He's played well damn near every single game. No, actually, no. I think there was one game where she was having a rough time. But whatever the case may be. If Dallas plays the way that he played last week, they win. They win this game. But San Francisco's defense could cause all kinds of havoc because of their ability to rush the passer. And yes, rest in peace, Jay Briscoe. So, since that's the case, I think this one's the toughest. This one's the toughest one of all of the games. I'm taking San Francisco. I have to take San Francisco to win this game because that defense will force turnovers. I think the defense of San Francisco will be the difference. Do I think Dak is going to be throwing interceptions galore left and right? No, I don't. But I do believe that San Francisco will be able to not only control the passing game of the 49ers. I think San Francisco, I said the passing game of 49. Passing game of Dallas. I think San Francisco will be able to run the football and shorten the time of possession for Dallas's offense. Give me the 49ers to win by 7. I think they take this game 24-17. I'm taking the doggone fucking San Francisco 49ers to win this game. I'm sorry. I really want to see Dak and the Cowboys replicate that exact same performance. But my God, it's going to be tough. It's going to be incredibly tough to do that on the 49ers defense. This 49ers defense, they mean, they in your face, they tackle, they force turnovers. These dudes hit. And if they take away the run game. If they eliminate the run game, because I'm not really worried about Zeke. It's really Tony Chapapala who should be concerned about. But if you now eliminate that doggone run game and you make it a situation where it's simply the passing attack of Dak Prescott, man, I'm telling you something right now. I think it's not going to be a very good time. I think it's going to be a Cry Me a River for the second year in a row. Unfortunately, there won't be any Cowboys fans in the building, but I'll find a way to go ahead and go do it. But one way or another, I'm taking the 49ers to win this game. I think it's going to be 24-17, and Christian McCaffrey is going to have himself a day. I think there's going to be a moment in which Trevon Diggs gets burned. He going to try to, bait Brock Purdy, and then it's not going to work in his favor. Maybe he mess around and slip. Whatever the case may be, I'm taking the 49ers because that's a team that's built for the postseason. You don't need amazing quarterback play. You need a great run game, which they have. You need a hard-nosed defense, which they have. Boy, I'm taking the 49ers to win this game, bro. And moreover, I think that Turpin, he's going to muff a punt. I think Turpin's going to muff a punt because knowing how that brother likes to take a lot of chances on special teams, I think he's going to get bitten in the ass. I think that might mess around and be the difference. There's going to be a special teams fumble that ends up going in San Francisco's favor. So I'm taking Turpin to mess around, put the ball on the ground. That's going to lead to the Cowboys' blunder, and I'm taking the 49ers to win this game. No! What do you mean 49ers going to win the game? That don't make no sense. You can't do that. We them boys, we supposed to go into 49er lane. We walking into Levi Stadium, and we not wearing Levi. We wearing Wrangler. We wearing some Thickies. We wearing Red Monkey. We wearing all the different jeans. That's not Levi, and we going to take care of business. I don't care what they say. We going to win this game, and then we got Thick. We got Zeke. Tony, Tepper Pilot, Blake Jarwin, C.D. Lamb. They're not going to stop our offense. Skip Bayless and Michael Irvin, Drew Pearson, and then everybody up there's Brian. They're going to step on the field. The spirit of the 88th is going to lead us to a victory. The San Francisco 49ers not going to step us. I don't give a fuck. We're going to win the game. We're going to win the game. The hell going on? Whatever the case may be. I'm taking the 49ers to win this game and advance to the NFC Championship for the second consecutive season to turn into the Green Bay Packers and take an L to the Philadelphia Eagles. But whatever the case may be, these are my predictions. Kansas City over Jacksonville, 34-24. Philadelphia over New York, 28-24. Buffalo over Cincinnati, 38-35. San Francisco over Dallas, 24-17. Dallas and San Francisco is by far the most difficult for me to select. And I'm going to definitely have to go live for that game. Well, I might mess around and go live for both games. I ain't even going to lie to you, dog. I might mess around and go live for both games on Sunday because the slate for Sunday's games is crazy. And then even for Saturday's games, I'm not even too sure which one I want to go live for because given this game is going to be on Sunday at 3, I might consider going live for all 4 games. I don't know. I have to see. Whatever the case may be. Yeah, I have to see. Maybe I might go live for the Giants in Philadelphia. Who knows? We'll see. Whatever the case may be. I think I'll go live for that game. I'll probably sit back and watch Jacksonville and Kansas City. Whatever the case may be. There's that. But I appreciate you guys tuning in, seeing my predictions, and we shall see who comes out on top. But I have been your host, the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis. I'm about to go and get myself some sushi. Tout de suite, as the French would say. But yeah, we shall see. And tomorrow I will be hosting a weigh-in for why? I'll tell you why. Simon Miller is taking on, of What Culture Wrestling, he is taking on Sir Wilkins of the Jobbeteers podcast, and I have been given the honor of hosting the weigh-in. So that's going to be very interesting. Never really hosted a weigh-in before. Not too sure what I'm supposed to say, but they're going to give me a live mic, and I'm sure I'm going to say some out-of-line things. So whatever the case may be, I may mess around and be canceled at the conclusion of Friday night. But whatever the case may be, if you guys haven't already, hit the like button if you have not already on your way out. I have appreciated you guys tuning into the stream. SpongeBob and everybody else is probably not feeling too good right now, but all I know is at the conclusion of this week, there will be 4 teams written down the Death Note, and their seasons will forever.
You will rest in peace.
Good night. Suck my dick. Bye-bye.